Welcome to the Vol Bros presented by the Ooltewah Club. My name is Evan. This is my brother Ruston. We are two Vol Bros who are actually bros in real life. And we are very proud to represent the University of Tennessee on the Believe Entertainment Network. We are very fortunate to have a lot of great guests with us from those connections in that network. We're going out of network tonight. We got a really special guest tonight, and I'm excited to bring him on here in just a second. Real quick, we have one thing I want to show everybody real quick. The first college football playoff poll was released Tuesday night. And there's two things that you see: the playoff poll on the left, the AP poll on the right. I do want to mention two quick things. Last week in our last show, we were talking about how people were saying in the comments, the AP poll doesn't matter. All that matters is college football playoff poll. And I said, I get that, but the AP poll does matter because it comes out. I mean, the people on the playoff committee, they're humans. Like they can't not see the AP poll. It comes out 48 hours before they release their poll. They can't not see it. Well, I think our first poll confirms, yeah, the AP poll matters because the top 10 teams are the exact same. The only difference really is Oregon, because the whole top line, 1 through 5, even the order is the exact same. 6 through 10, the teams are the same. The only difference is really just Oregon, because you've got Ole Miss, BYU, and Texas Tech in that order. The AP poll has Oregon ranked ahead of those three. The college football playoff poll has them ranked after those three. So really the only difference is the position of Oregon, and then all the other teams around them are identical. So clearly the poll matters. Now I'm going to say something else. Under this current system, this is the major flaw. Now, did it get better from last year? Yes, because they're not being reseeded like they were last year. But there is still a major flaw here. You will notice in the playoff poll, there are 0 group of 6 schools in that top 25. They're all Power 4 schools. The current system reserves a spot in the playoff for the highest ranked group of 6 school, which right now would be Memphis. But as you can tell, Memphis is not even ranked in the top 25 in the playoff poll. So our current system has a non-top 25 team getting in the playoff right now ahead of 15 top 25 teams. And one last thing. We've said on this show numerous times, everybody's like, well, you just got to be in the top 11. That's all you got to be in, and you're in. No. And we've said that repeatedly. That is not true. Because, and I've said on here numerous times, in order to feel comfortable about your security of being in the playoff, you really got to be in the top 10. Because what if one of the conference champions is outside the top 12? Well, if they're a conference champion, Power 4, they get an automatic bid. Now, I invite you to look at the current playoff poll. The highest ranked ACC team is Virginia at 14. So right now, the 12th spot is reserved for the highest group of 6. So that'll be Memphis. So Oklahoma's out at the current moment. But also right now, even though Texas, if the season ended tomorrow, Texas, even though they're ranked 11th, would also be out because the ACC champion in this situation would be Virginia, and they would leapfrog from number 14 all the way up to number 11. Because they would get an automatic bid. So I felt good, when this came out, because I was like, yeah, maybe I know at least a thing or two after all, because you do have to be in the top 10 to feel secure about your position in the playoff. So I step off my soapbox now. Ruston, clearly you have thoughts about that. You want to tell us your thoughts real quick?
Can you throw those back up again real quick?
Yep.
In my opinion, this has nothing to do with the AP poll, because they took.
Even though the top 10 teams are literally the exact same top 10?
No. The NCAA is all about making money. This is all about creating storylines. They leapfrog Texas Tech and BYU up right next to each other. When do they play? Oh, this Saturday.
Yeah, this week.
That was intentional. They know Texas and Oklahoma play each other in 3 weeks. So why would they, if the AP poll matters, why would they leapfrog Texas over Oklahoma? In the AP poll, Oklahoma's ahead. Only unless you're trying to piss off the biggest rivalry in America to set up a huge game in 3 weeks. It's all about story. It's all about
Well,
money.
but
It
Texas
has
beat
nothing to
Oklahoma
do with
this year.
reality.
Like that's why Texas is ahead of them, because Texas beat Oklahoma. Like why they're ranked ahead of them in the AP poll, I don't know. Because Texas beat Oklahoma, so that's why they're ranked ahead of them in the playoff poll.
Yeah, they're setting up storylines, and this thing's going to change every week for the next 3 weeks. This will look nothing like this in 3 weeks, and this is all about money. Nothing else.
Well, that's definitely accurate. It's definitely all about money. We got a whole bunch of people in the comments already. I'm glad to see everybody with us tonight. Billy, you just saw that comment about your wife. Hope she's okay, man. I'm glad she's getting better. We're going to try to put as many of those up, but we have many of the comments on the screens we can. But I am super excited about this show. I've been telling people all day long, you're going to want to watch the show tonight, because we have, in my opinion, I mean, essentially the Phil Steele of college football. We have the Phil Steele of college basketball tonight, and that is Mr. Chris Dortch. Chris, welcome. We are so glad you're with us.
I'm glad to be back with you guys, and he's actually the Chris Dortch of college football. So.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about. That is what I'm talking about right there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna 100% recommend everybody go to blueribbonyearbook.com. Let me see here. I'm going to share my screen so that everybody can see it. So I'm going to put this up on the screen here. Right now, you can purchase on blueribbonyearbook.com this year's edition of, really, I mean, it is the definitive college basketball book, magazine.
It's the basketball Bible.
Essentially, that's what it is. You have never seen a document this in depth about every single team in the country. It is incredible. 413 pages. This document. We found out last time we had Chris on the show. We found out there are some ESPN announcers who, while they're calling the game, have this book open on the sidelines, using it as reference material to help them call the game. I mean, this is the definitive thing. I'm honored to get to have Chris with us tonight, because this is a huge deal to have you on the show. We got the definitive voice in college basketball with us tonight, and I'm so excited to have you here.
Well, I appreciate that. I don't know if I'm all that, but I do love the game, and I've got a lot of passion for it, and I try to make sure that bleeds through. I'll tell you a cool story. You mentioned the ESPN announcers. My podcast partner and I, Kevin Ingram, who's the voice of the Vandy Commodores in men's hoops, we were recording today, and I got a text while we were recording, and it came from none other than Dick Vitale. We text back and forth. We know one another, and I had told him I was proud of him for hanging in there, and I was glad that he got the Dick Vitale Invitational, and I was happy that my book was a small part of his success over the years, because he's always gotten it. And he texted me, you could hear the ding on our podcast. And I said, oh my God, we just got a text from Dick Vitale. And I kind of teased it. And Kevin, 20 minutes later said, I got to know what he said. And Dick Vitale wrote, your book has helped me in a big way in my career. And you know how you can make, if you got an iPhone, you can make the words big, kind of bigger, and like move up and down. He put big way like that. So I thought that was pretty cool.
That is
because
awesome.
I think the world of him. I said this on our podcast, and I know him, as I said, and he's every bit like he is in person as he is on the air. And he's done so much for so many people, raised $100 million for trying to cure cancer, trying to help children. He's battled it himself. And I believe since the advent, this is crazy, ESPN, Dick Vitale, and Blue Ribbon College Basketball Yearbook all debuted in 1981. And we're all still going strong. And I think the combo of ESPN and Dick Vitale took college basketball to another level. And there's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. And I remember when it was in San Antonio, they announced that Dick was getting into the Naismith Hall of Fame. And Jim Nantz was the MC. And I went up to him for a quote after, and I quickly realized it was a mistake because he was bummed that his then broadcast partner, Billy Packer, who I also grew up like, and was not in the Hall of Fame. And, he kind of grumbled something about that. And I said, "Oh, see you later, Jim." I don't think you're going to give me a good quote about Dick. But I love Billy Packer, the late Billy Packer, friends with his sons, and respected him a great deal. But Dick Vitale and ESPN were the 1-2 slam dunkaroo, dipsy do dunkaroo that took college basketball to another level. And that's just flat out. And,
Absolutely.
In those early days, Chris Wallace, who started Blue Ribbon, he was on ESPN's halftime shows. They used to have those cutaways when they had rights to the NCAA tournaments, and he was in the studio. So I feel a little bit of a kinship with Dick and ESPN, but it was great to get that text from him, and it just shows you how thoughtful that he really is.
Absolutely. It's also pretty cool that Dick Vitale's in your contacts on your phone. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we text back.
It's always Rick Barnes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, over the years, and you guys know this, Ruston's been in academia, and it's really kind of about the people that you can get to know and meet and help along the way. And that's kind of why I got into college teaching and stuck with that for 15 years. It's just trying to help people. And I think if you do enough of that, and I don't really ask for anything in return, but it just kind of comes back around. If you do decent things for decent people, they'll I think it'll pay off in the long run. And it's nothing that like I said,
is that Dick Vitale right there?
It wasn't Dick, no.
Okay.
It was a coach, though. But over the years, if you do your job and do it well, and you're fair and honest, you can get 5,000 contacts in your phone. And
okay, so along those lines, because you said something last year that has stuck with me, and I've had this conversation with other college coaches since then. You said you've had coaches tell you that they use your book for their scouting reports.
Absolutely.
How often? And you said a college coach literally just called you. So
yeah.
How often do you get those calls, and how often are they people looking for scouting?
As far as scouting, they use the book for that. As far as recruiting, I get a ton of calls in March, and it's because and coaching searches too. I've helped place some coaches around the country just because of relationships with athletic directors, and they're always looking for another set of eyes. And I think people in the NIL era, which most coaches call speed dating, it used to be when the three of us were coming up, a college coach had a couple of years to build a relationship with a kid, and you'd get to know his family. His high school coach was a big factor, his AAU coaches, whatever. Now it's like 2 weeks of a mad rush, and so. A ton of coaches will call because they're looking for good intel. And as far as scouting, though, there's a cool video on our website we helped EA Sports with the very last basketball video game that they did. They just announced that they're going to renew it, but the very last one was done in 2009, and they did an awesome video for us. It's even on YouTube, but that's it right there. And Bill Self is on there, Phil Martelli, Tom Izzo, and Bill Self had the greatest comment. He says, when we make out our schedule and I know who we're going to play, I go to the Blue Ribbon Book. And
That's awesome.
I can attest, I sent a case of 6 books to them last week. Somebody obviously forgot to order any earlier, but yeah, that video is pretty cool. And we helped EA Sports with that game.
So I just
So
put
as a
the link to
follow-up,
that video in the comments on Facebook.
as a
and YouTube.
follow-up, because as you were saying that, it made me think. I have a friend that's a college baseball coach who was commiserating in July about the fact that he only knew who half his roster was because of the trickle-down effect of the Major League Draft and how everybody just pilfered everybody's rosters as you went down the levels. And literally, second week of July, he only had half his roster full. So I'm curious, because you do talk to pretty much every school in America and you see most every player, do you get many phone calls from coaches asking about kids in the portal that they're like, hey, I haven't seen this kid. What do you know?
Absolutely. I mean, I've even talked to Rick Barnes at times, and I asked him one time, why is a Hall of Fame coach calling me? And he said, talking to you is like talking to a coach, and I respect another set of eyes. So that was one of the best compliments anybody's ever paid me. And
okay, well, that begs the question: who was that? Who was he calling about?
Well, I'll probably leave that between him and me. But he asked about a couple of guys, and there was one guy in particular that I said, "Oh, you mean this guy?" And I pulled a highlight clip from a game he had 3 years ago against Stanford in that ESPN tournament down at Disney World. He scored 26 points, and he made a bunch of threes, and I think he guarded their best offensive player. And I said, yeah, this guy, I like him pretty good. And so it's just after a while, I think people see that this guy's nuts. He's editing this 900,000 word book. He must know a little something. So I'm happy to share what I know. I mean,
I tell people all the time, like I deal with a lot of high school kids and kids who are about to be in high school. And I tell them all the time, look, the reality is there's all these recruiting services out there. They all want to sell you something. But the reality is it's 100% about who you know. And if one key person can make a phone call on your behalf, it's more valuable than every recruiting service.
You are dead on, Ruston, and I'll give you a great example. I also write for Seth Davis's Hoops HQ website, and I've been pitching a story on this Belmont kid, Tyler Lundblade, and he was like, well, the mid-majors, they really don't move the needle so much. But luckily for Belmont, they've got an SID that's a real pain in the backside. He pestered the heck out of Seth. And one Sunday night, I get a text from Seth, do you want to do a story on this Tyler Lundblade kid? And, I'd pitched the story twice before, and I'm like, heck yeah. And he says, well, they don't really move the needle. And I said, I am going to make people read that story. So here's the deal. He during COVID, his family thought so much of his career that they moved from Texas to North Carolina, and he went to Greensboro Day School. And they thought he could get better exposure. He got a couple of college offers, which he turned down. And as it turned out, COVID got worse, and college recruiters couldn't come and see him. So he ends up walking on at SMU, which was fine, coached by a friend of mine, Tim Jankovic, earns a scholarship. So Jankovic then retires, And his replacement, Rob Lanier, who's a former assistant to Rick Barnes, did
Yep.
not keep Tyler on the roster. So he goes to TCU, walks on, earns a scholarship. In the spring of 24, he's looking on Twitter, he's in the weight room, and he sees that TCU has just signed a guard. And he can, he's a bright kid. He can add up the number of scholarships. He knows he's gone, right? So the family asked Jankovic to make a few calls. They call Belmont because Jankovic knows Casey Alexander. And Casey said, well, gee, we just gave out our last scholarship. We're done with the portal. And that was that. And month goes by. The kid doesn't get any sniffs. So Jank calls back to Belmont and says, look, his parents have money. He's willing to walk on. So he walks on. He has no summer practice with him. They have no idea. They know he's a good kid and he can shoot it, but they don't know what kind of impact. Well, he ends up leading the nation in three-point percentage.
That's not bad.
And the story I wrote, it started out with a drill that he was doing this summer. And there was a graduate assistant helping him. And the drill is you shoot threes from 5 spots on the floor. And when you miss, you move on. So he gets to the first spot, left corner, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 in a row. Finally ends at 68. So the GA says, man, I got to capture the moment here. So he pulls his phone out, and I have it. I have the video, and this guy is just a machine. He ends up 174 out of 179 from three. And I mean, he's just robotic. The video, Hoops HQ ran it. And, but like Ruston said, if this kid's former coach did not know Casey Alexander at Belmont, we may have never heard of this kid. And I'm telling you, I've talked to people that think he can be the next Duncan Robinson and, come out of nowhere and be a three-point shooting specialist and make an NBA roster. So, yeah, it's all about who you know. And those are the stories that I live to tell, good stories.
And trust is a huge part of it. Like if they trust your opinion, they'll take it over 10 videos.
That's true. That's true.
People don't believe that when I say it, but I tell people all the time, I haven't been a high school coach in 7, 8 years. There's still contemporaries I coached with who are at the college level who will call and say, hey, have you seen this kid? Yep. And they'll make decisions based on our conversation sometimes. And I'm like, I haven't seen him that much. And they're like, yeah, but you know what you're looking at. This is what we want.
That
happens all the time.
You've coached. You're a good guy. They know that. And they're looking for people who aren't self-dealing. Because in the NIL era, a bunch of unscrupulous agents under the guise of, we're going to help you get NIL deals. What they're really doing is trying to sell you to the highest bidder. Last year, when Tennessee lost Adu and Awaka, they had the same agent, and they were both spirited away for more money, even though both would have probably started last year. I know Adu would have. He was second team All SEC. And so there's a lot of this unscrupulous element that's filtered its way in. I blame the NCAA for trotting out NIL, and this is a phrase I like to use a lot, without thinking it through. And
Zero
they didn't
plan.
think it through. And because of that, everything went. Nothing was off the table, and they literally condoned breaking their own rules. I'll give you an example. I went to ETSU and George Mason. If there was a time, and the rule book said if I'd have been caught helping either of those schools recruit, it would have been a violation. Well, after the NCAA unleashed NIL, alumni for schools were able to collaborate and pool their money together. These guys weren't like ultra wealthy, but they had money and they could
Yeah.
pool it together for NIL. Well, that's technically a violation. And so they didn't think it through. And it's really become, a lot of coaches call it the Wild Wild West for a
Yep.
reason. It's just a state of, lawful lawlessness, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
It's
amazing. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
It's amazing to me how it's filtered into every single sport too. Like, it's not just the big dollar sports anymore. I was talking to a friend of mine whose daughter plays Division I softball, and she's in the portal, and they are actively shopping her to the highest bidder, and she was this summer. She signed, but they were actively. I mean, they were literally having negotiations between schools, and they were calling the other school and going, "Well, this one offered this much. Will you match it?" And they were literally competing bids back and forth. And I'm like, this is a college softball player. They don't make any money. This is a revenue losing sport.
Right.
And they were actively soliciting gifts.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I was talking to some students from UT today. They were interviewing me for a class project, and I brought up the name Olivia Dunn, who's a gymnast at LSU, and she was making more money than anybody.
Yeah.
And and it's kind of insulting. People thought, well, she's pretty and stuff, but she's a bleached blonde bubblehead. No, she's smart. She's a businesswoman, and she made millions of dollars off NIL, and nothing.
And now she's going to marry Paul Skeens and make even more.
Yeah, exactly. And she gets on the cover of SI, and there you go. But yeah, it's just a whole new world out there. And back to your earlier point, coaches rely on people that they think are in the know, and really it's more about character than it is about ability that they want to know. Sometimes it's about ability. I mean, I've had coaches send me tapes of kids from France, and they'll say, "What do you think?" And I'll break it down, and I'll text back and say, "What do you think?" And they'll say, "Well, pretty much what you just said." So they just want somebody that lives it, eats it, and sleeps it like they do to verify what they already think. So in that way, I'm not that valuable, but it's more of a second opinion. Like if you were to go to a doctor, somebody says you need foot surgery. Well, I'm going to go get a second opinion, and that's what people are looking for, because it's easy to get somebody who is in it for the money and not in it to win. And like Rick Barnes, the reason, and I know we'll get to the Vols, the reason Rick Barnes is so successful is because more than anything, and it's that motto, it's not about me. And that's the kind of dudes they look for. And they also look for guys who can take getting screamed at and run the steps and not take it personally. I wrote a piece about Rick in Hoops HQ, and one of his former assistants told me he used the word maniacal. He is maniacal when it comes to helping people, his players, from KD on down to the lowliest walk-on, improve their skills as much as they can. And that's what Rick
lives in the gym.
That's what he does. I mean, he's got an unbelievable office. I'm sure he could write his name in the dust on the desk, because he sets up a card table in their practice gym, and that's his desk. He
really
in
does.
There, and he's like, oh boy, here comes somebody to shoot, and he can't help but. I started my story. I was talking to him.
For the hang on, Chris. For the Tennessee fans who have not seen that, what Chris just said is 100% true. You will not find Rick Barnes in his office. He has a literal plastic table in the practice gym, and he just stays there and waits on guys to come work out.
That's what he does. And I'll go there every summer and he kind of lets me watch and stuff. And I was talking to him as I often do, and he saw Felix Akbar shooting jumpers, and so he calls his Dobo over and says, Mary Carter, can you get my iPad from my car? So she comes back with the iPad. He opens it up and starts showing Akpara NBA clips after clip after clip, and me too, of guys, big men, shooting it from a high release position. All right.
Yep.
So then he says he takes Akpara over to one of the side baskets and he tells me, I'll be right back. And in my story, I refer to myself as the visitor. And I say, Barnes says, I'll be right back. And I'll say, the visitor knows this is not true. This has happened before. And that's okay, because the gym is his laboratory. He called me that day. I literally just pulled in the garage and he said, man, I'm sorry I didn't give you enough time. And I said, hey, that's okay, man. I was in your domain. That's your lab. And plus I got everything I needed. You know, he's gracious to let me talk to anybody, and he gets good kids and good assistants, and they'll come up and talk to me. So the reason he's so successful and the reason he'll continue to be successful in every metric. I know there's people out there that call him second weekend Rick. I won't bore you with my theory about how that's a bunch of baloney. But by every metric except for winning it all, he's doing as well as anybody in the country. I mean, They sell out, they graduate kids, they don't have to run off people, they win games.
And in the few exceptions when they do have to tell a kid, hey, you're not a good fit here, the kid goes and thrives somewhere else because of the things they've learned with him.
That's exactly right. The kid that went to UNC Asheville is a notable example. He had a great career there.
Cam Carr.
Yeah, exactly. And so, you know, he pieces. What I went to their game, their exhibition with Duke, and I always wait for him after his press conference, and you know, we talk for a minute. He's busy, and I don't have a ton of time, but he asked me what I thought, and I gave him a 2-word answer: puzzle pieces. And what I meant by that was, unlike last year when he had 7 guys, literally 7 guys that he could trust on his roster, and nobody that could score inside, he's got 13 guys he can trust and a bunch of people that can score inside. And I said, puzzle pieces. You've just got to find out, you know, who's going to play the 2 for you, who's going to be your most consistent 4-man. And, you know, Jalen Carey the other night, it was just against Mercer, but he made a pretty good point. He got 10 boards. I don't think he played more than 19 or 20 minutes, and he's making a case for that spot. So, you know, it's all about.
But even to what you were just saying, like, you can watch Jalen Carey, he still doesn't quite figure out where he fits into everything on offense. Like, his points are coming off second chance. He's you know, boxing out the backside, getting stick backs, but he clearly isn't real sure where he fits. Amari Abrams is another one. Like, you can just watch him, and he's trying to figure out, where in the world do I go in all this? When he figures it out, when he figures it out, that dude is going to be a problem because there's nobody to double him.
I couldn't agree with you more. And in fact, he doesn't realize they're going to use him like Grant Williams. And basically, they used Grant Williams. He wasn't a true post man, but they would put him at the free throw line extended. And from there, people don't realize his deadliest weapon was a 15-footer. He could make that all night long. So if you came out and contested, he'd put it down. And like that game at Vandy where he had 28 free throws or whatever. And they want Jalen Carey to do that. And you're so right on Amari Abrams, too. I know Kermit Davis, so I called him about Amari. And he said a couple of things. He said, Amari will shoot 40% from 3 for Rick because of all the screening action they use. And he likes to guard, which Rick loves. And this was so funny because I knew what he meant. He said, and he can take direct coaching. That means he can take getting yelled at. And so
nobody ever accused Kermit of being soft. If you can
no,
play for
no,
Kermit, you can play for
Kermit
Rick.
was mean. Kermit was mean
Yeah.
to his guys, and that's just, he was old school. His dad was a coach, and that's the way they did it. But yeah, so I think Amari Abrams might end up being the answer at the 2 spot, and there'll be others, but he's got depth. And seriously, I love Jemai Mashak, but last year they were playing 5-on-4 because nobody guarded him. You didn't really have to. He eventually started shooting some threes, but he was reluctant to, and nobody felt like they had to guard him. And now you're going to have to guard everybody. So this is a team that has huge upside. I think the national media is sleeping on them. I swear to you, it's not regional bias. It's not because I know Rick. If I thought they were unworthy of being ranked, I wouldn't have ranked them. I put them 7th in the country because people are sleeping on them. This is a better team than the last 2 that went to the Elite 8. I promise you. I promise you that.
And the biggest difference between this team and the last 2 is, with the last 2, one night, if we needed to go get a tough basket inside, we might get it.
Right.
With this team, we got dudes that can go get it. Like we can attack the rim and go get a quick, easy 2.
Para, Carey is a monster on the offensive glass. JP Estrella is back, and they've told me ever since he set foot on campus that he's their best low post scorer. So they got him back. They're still not sure where Cade Phillips fits. Is he a big 3? Is he a mobile 4? But he's got mad hops, and he's a lob threat. He's a threat to run the floor. If he starts making threes, they might start him at the 3, and they may start him in at the 2.
So against Mercer, they did have about a 2-minute sequence where Nate moved to the 2, Cade played the 3, and Felix and JP were inside together. That roster was enormous.
Yeah, exactly. And then if they want to play Estrella at 6'11" and Felix at 6'11", they can do it. And then Amen is 6'10" and still growing, according to what the doctors have told him. So he's kind of like KD. KD's 7 feet, but he don't want anybody to know that for whatever reason. But Ament is very similar. Rick won't say it publicly. He will cop to. They have the same game preparation and coachability. He will make that comparison. And Nate, if you remember the Duke game, he got caught over dribbling several times.
Yeah.
And trying to make things happen. Now, fast forward to the Mercer game. He knew that he couldn't be a black hole. He couldn't put the ball on the floor too much. He had to move in the flow of the offense. And when he got the ball, he had to make quick decisions and do what he does. Because he can make one bounce and he's at the rim. And he can pull up. He's got every shot in the bag. And they're just like, make your decision quickly, utilize your teammates. And he had the best quote after the game. He said he found out that, and he doesn't have a selfish bone in his body, but he said, if I'm not unselfish, I'm not helping my team. And the kid was being modest. He's not selfish, but he just didn't know exactly how to dominate. And Rick wants him to dominate. Rick wants him to be National Player of the Year. And I mean, who's to say he couldn't be? He had an easy 18-9 the other night, an easy 18-9, and even when he shot it poorly against Duke, he still had 14-10, jousting with Cam Boozer in there, who got 25 boards that night or 24, whatever it was. It was animalistic, but yeah, they've just got a bunch of parts, and as soon as he gets to a roster that a rotation that he's comfortable with, they're really going to take off, I think. And I asked him point blank about a month ago, would you play 10 or 11 guys? And he said, yes, I will. So that's going to make them all that much more aggressive defensively because they can be subbed in and out and they won't suffer. You were a coach, Ruston, you know the first thing to go is your legs. And when your legs go, your jumper goes. And they would get into these maddening slumps where they get open shots and couldn't make them. I don't think you're going to see much of that because there's going to be fresh people in there. This kid, Etan Berg, Etan, don't call me Ethan like everybody does, Berg. He can shoot it. He's a grown man. He's 24 years old. He's played against pros.
That Joker's fought in a war.
Yeah,
a literal war.
Literally.
Yeah, I mean, when you're in Israel,
you've got little different mental makeup.
You're in the army.
Literally shot at people with a machine gun.
Yeah. All of a sudden, the SEC ain't so tough.
No.
But yeah. So that cat, I think he's going to be good, and I really like Troy Henderson too. He came in the other night and banged in a couple threes, and he's a winner. He won 3 straight high school championships.
Well, Rustin, before you ask your next question there, I wanted to go through some of the comments that have come in. Chris, I think you'll appreciate these. So
they don't get to talk tonight. We're talking Bears.
Elijah, one of our channel members, he said, I love this show last year. So he remembered when you came on last year with us. We'll have to do this at least once a year for sure.
No doubt.
Jonathan said, welcome back, Chris.
Thank you,
Rhonda said hello to you.
Hello, Rhonda.
Let's see. Some of the other comments come through. Rhonda said Dick Vitale is legendary, class act. Absolutely. As a compliment, to have him in your contacts list there.
He definitely is a guy that it doesn't hurt to be able to text him and get an answer. I'll put it that way.
Matt, welcome, buddy. There's one of our channel members. He said he's just listening. He's locked in. He's loving this.
Cool.
Jonathan said the same thing. This is fascinating stuff. There's another comment that came through. He said, I could listen to this for hours.
I could talk for hours.
Elijah said NCAA and think it through should never be in the same sentence.
I love that. And that's become one of my favorite expressions. Think it through.
Absolutely.
The NCAA's motto should be planning is for losers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they've just basically given up because if anybody doesn't like what they rule, they're just going to sue them. They're just going to get sued, and they can't afford it, despite the $1 billion they get from Turner and CBS for the rights to the tournament. And so they're really kind of a paper tiger. And I hope that this commission that they've started, the guy that's supposed to oversee NIL deals, can put a little sense back into this. But I'll tell you what, this is a big orange show. I'm not just saying it because you're a bunch of Vol fans, but Tennessee is one of the 4 or 5 most uniquely equipped schools in the country to deal with this because they've got money, they've got an intelligent athletic director, and they've got good head coaches at every spot. And, they lose a guy who would have been a Hall of Famer had he stayed in college baseball coaching. They replace him with a guy who, you saw that tape where they introduced him and the players mobbed him. They're not going to miss a beat. So they've got it going on over there in every sport, and they've got the money. They've got big, high-dollar boosters. They don't have to fly commercial. They can charter everywhere. Those are huge advantages. Advantages. And I'm telling you, Rick Barnes is unflappable in spring. Because we talk a bunch in March and April, a bunch. And he is totally unflappable. Like the year he lost 2 coaches, Lanier and Desmond Robinson, and he had to get 5 guys out of the portal. He didn't drop a bead of sweat, not one. And this year, same way. Rod Clark leaves. He's got a Moral Morgan, waiting. They weren't. He actually, his assistants have told me this. He loves the portal. He
Yeah.
likes it because you can cherry pick. And over the years, he and I have had this conversation. I said, we got to talking about shooting, and I said, Coach, you know me, I'm a big enough dork. I went back and looked when Villanova won their 2 natties. They dusted people. In their 12 wins, they shot 50% from 3 combined in those 2 NCAA championships. So I said, I believe that you have to have 4 to 5 guys who can shoot high 30s to low 40s from 3. And he said, you know what? I agree. And I don't think it was any revelation or anything like that, because he and Bob McKillop are friends, and Bob McKillop coached Steph, and one of the best coaches ever. And, Rick has used a lot of what Bob used to run, and they do a lot of screening action, and they get a lot of open jump shots. Their analytics guy told me just this summer that in 2 of the last 3 years, Tennessee has led the nation in number of jump shots that come off ball screens. So people say, well, we're not running any offense. Not true. Not true. They're running ball screens all over the place. Floppy action where the shooter runs into the lane, comes back out, and is picked for by the 5-man, wide open jump shot. The money shot that Santi used to shoot in the corner, those are all coming off screening action. And he's got some guys that can jump up there and knock it in. And last year, really, Chaz Lanier was about the only consistent three-point shooter that they had. And so they struggled to score, yet still made it to the Elite Eight. I think that was one of his best coaching jobs of his life.
Okay, so Evan, because he just said that, now I've got to say what I was going to say. Because he literally just said half of my point. So, Chris, I'm curious. So I was watching this team the other night, and I was sitting there watching them going, where have I seen this before? Like, they've got 5 guards that all look identical. Like, they're all the exact same player. And 5 bigs that are all crazy athletic, but really strong and can attack the rim. And I was sitting there watching this going, where have I seen this? And I was like, it really looks like Tom Izzo's best teams at Michigan State or Jay Wright's best teams at Villanova. I was like, you just pick your poison. Like, they're versatile. They can score in a lot of different ways. It looks like a bunch of clones of each other at the key positions. And I was sitting there watching it going, I feel like I'm watching those Michigan State teams. Like, it feels like a team built for March.
Rick and Tom are friends, and I'm sure they trade notes. Izzo's a great guy, by the way. He gives our writer an hour every summer. He drives about 2 hours to a lake house he has in Upper Michigan, and he gives our guy an hour. It's great for him because the drive is boring, and he tells him anything he wants to know. But you're absolutely right. And referring back to that piece I wrote on Barnes in Tennessee for Hoops HQ, I talked to Chris Ogden, and he told me this. Whenever Coach Barnes has had A, a lottery pick, B, a legitimate point guard, and we haven't even talked about Gillespie yet. He's a hell on wheels. And C, rebounding, his teams have always won big. Lottery pick, check, Nate Ament. Great point guard, check, Jacoby Gillespie. Vol fans will think this is blasphemous. I think he's better than Zakai Ziegler. And rebounding, you just mentioned those guys. They've got rebounding out the wazoo. So that's why I say I believe that this is a better team than the 2 that advanced to the Elite Eight. Now, how far does that get you? Hard to say. A lot of people don't understand.
Draw, right?
Yeah, it's luck of the draw. Sometimes, like the year that FAU got to the Final Four, the one team that Rick feared was FAU. Why? Because Ziegler was gone. And they started 3 or 4 guards. and he knew that without Ziegler to bust up their pressure, they were going to be in for a long night. And so, and then the time they played Michigan, that was the year they really had trouble guarding bigs who could score in the paint. So sometimes it's about luck of the draw. I remember one year, I guess Jerry Green was here, and they were playing UConn, and UConn's point guard suffered a high ankle sprain. Luck of the draw. They wouldn't have beat UConn if that kid doesn't hurt his ankle. So they do, and that's when Jerry had that famous quote when they blew a lead against North Carolina. We had dementia of the game. we were all laughing at Jerry because we thought he had dementia because he never called a timeout. But yeah. So, but I think he's got the answers. Whereas last year, he really only could trust 7 people,
Right.
and they only had 9 deep. When Estrella went down, there went their post depth.
Yep.
And when Carr left, which was inexplicable because he was getting ready to come back off an injury and play a ton.
Absolutely.
I can only surmise, and I don't know this, but I'll bet you anything somebody got to him with a high dollar. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I bet you anything. And Coach is too classy to mention it, even talk about it. That's in the past. He didn't want to be here. We don't need to talk about him anymore. But he would have played a ton. So with those 2 guys alone, who knows? Maybe that's enough to help them over the edge with Houston. I don't know. But I do know this. They are deep. They are too deep at every position. And as I said earlier, when he puts together those puzzle pieces, they are going to be tough. I feel like.
Well, when you said that the first time, Elijah, he got pumped up. He said, "Hype me up, Chris." He was loving it.
Sounds like he's pretty jacked already.
Multiple people in the comments are talking about concerns about 3-point shooting. Y'all don't need to be concerned about that. We have shooters. They're just trying to figure out how to play with each other.
That's right. That's right. And my guess, and somebody asked me this today on something. I've had a busy day. I'm glad I've still got my voice left for you guys. But I told him my prediction was Amari Abram would be the guy that eventually fills in for 2 reasons. One, he likes to guard. Last year he played at La Tech, and he was always paired against the other team's leading scorer. And he usually held them well below their average. 2, he's a left-handed 3-point shooter. Lefties, as you know, Ruston, are a little tougher to guard.
Yep.
And he's got a quick release. He can shoot it. So I think, and he's got size. He's 6'4", 205. And so he's Jemai Meshack who can shoot.
Yeah.
Is what he is.
I love Aton Berg off the bench as well. I think he brings an energy that is going to be really productive. And you could almost watch him against Mercer. Like he was probing at times, trying to figure out how his European game fit into what they were doing. And as he gets more accustomed to what everybody else is doing, I think he's going to actually be a big factor too.
I agree. And don't forget, he played for Israel in some FIBA tournament and didn't show up on campus till September. So, Rick's one of those guys that uses every one of the 8 weeks they get in the summer. So he missed all that. And then he missed the early conditioning. And yet after 10 practices, Rick told me like he's got this down, and yet you can have it down in practice. Having it down in the game is a little bit different. It's going to take a little longer for that, but he will get it. And he can shoot the basketball at a high clip. Nate Ament shoots it. Jacoby Gillespie has got a pure stroke. And the reason I say he's better than Zakai, I don't mean to demean Zakai. He's a legend. He's evolved for life. He'll be remembered at Tennessee for as long as they play basketball. But this kid could have played high major football. He was recruited by Vandy and Virginia Tech. He's 6'1", 190. He can dunk. When I was at practice in June, Rick made him run suicides. He dusted everybody and wasn't even breathing hard. Yeah, and he's a good assist maker. He averaged just as many steals as Zakai did last year. Here's a stat that I put in Blue Ribbon. I'm going to read to you. Last year, only 2 players in the country made at least 83s, had an assist rate of 27% or higher, and averaged at least 1.9 steals a game. One was the Bob Cousy Award winner, Braden Smith of Purdue. The other was Gillespie. So I'm telling you, he's a bad dude. And so he's going to get better. He has not shot the ball like he's capable. He is one of those guys that can shoot 40% from 3. He can get to the rim. He can stop on a dime and shoot a pull-up. And he's also a good playmaker. So he's everything they could have wanted and more. I mean, once they got him, they almost could have stopped. I mean, they needed to find some more depth pieces. But with JP coming back and the freshman they'd already signed, this kid, Dwayne Brown, he shocked everybody. Rick said by far he was the surprise of the summer. And he's a below-the-rim guy. But he's just big. He's got long arms. He's super smart. His team also won 3 high school championships. He's a winner. And he gets Rick Barnes. He knows that, hey, Rick is going to coach me up, and I don't care what he says to me, at what volume he says it. I'm going to say, sir, yes, sir. And he's getting better and better. I mean, against Duke, Cam Boozer was ruling the boards, but when that kid came in there, he made his presence felt. I think he had 10 points and 6 boards. That wasn't a game for the meek. Because Duke is big. Duke is gigantic. And so I think they could have stopped it at Gillespie, but, they kept going and they got him meant. And so they're a team that really has some upside. And again, I'm not saying this because I live in Tennessee, not saying this because I know Rick. I try to have no bias, and that's why people, honestly, gamblers love Blue Ribbon because there's no bias in it. and I don't gamble myself, and I don't tell anybody to. I don't condone it. I don't condemn it. Okay, but gamblers make a lot of money from my book because they've told me the information is pure, and we talk to the coaches. We make our best evaluations and we give our best predictions. And you saw it, Evan. I sent it to you the other day. I sent him the digital copy, and I guess your jaw dropped when you opened that sucker up. But it's pretty nuts. And
it is. It's incredibly impressive. And we had a question come in here for you. That you're talking about Tennessee and Duke. I Bleed Orange asked, do you think it's possible that Duke Tennessee exhibition game was a preview of this year's national championship?
It's funny you talk about that. Mike Keith is an old friend, and I always get there 2 hours before the game and kind of talk to everybody. And went up to see Mike, and we were joking. We were like, back in the day, the exhibition game was against Marathon Oil or Athletes.
Yeah, exactly.
and Mike,
Walter State was going to come take their annual beating.
Yeah, Mike reminded me of the time they scheduled an exhibition game and they didn't show. But we were saying, and nowadays it's like a Final Four.
Yes.
And it's like sometimes it's like the NCAA. Sometimes they're quick on the draw, and sometimes they're too slow on the draw. It's like, duh, why didn't you come up with this concept of playing these exhibitions? Because they go to charity. If I'm not mistaken, because Duke's from North Carolina and we're in proximity to Western North Carolina, that money went to the poor folks in Western North Carolina that got flooded out of their homes. Some of them still,
awesome.
haven't found a place to be yet. So it's such a obvious thing that they could have been doing for years. And summer practice, it's like they didn't used to let them practice in the summer. Just like, how dumb is that? It improves the quality of the game. I think
Absolutely.
I think it's cut down on injuries because the strength coach gets to work with them and help them prevent injuries by stretching. I'm a big proponent of stretching, even for myself. But sometimes it takes them forever, and then sometimes like this NIL, they just trot it out, and there's no guardrails, no protections. People can just pilfer you. The Belmont coaches have told me they've had kids get recruited in the handshake lines, and it's just absurd.
Absolutely. Well, so we've essentially talked about two of our questions. We had three questions we were going to ask Chris tonight. The first one was, what do you think is the biggest difference in this year's team from last year's? And I think we've covered that. Our second one, we kind of hinted at. Absolutely. That would have been my answer too.
Depth, low post scoring.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, I could go on and on.
I know the second question has an obvious answer, but I had a different answer that isn't the obvious one. So I'm curious, which true freshman, because we mentioned a few already, which true freshman has impressed you the most so far?
Well, it's Nate, and that's not rocket science. I didn't have to be Dr. Naismith to come up with that. But yeah, he's just got such high upside. And I do some NBA draft work for NBA TV. I produce this big draft book that Shaq and all their on-air guys use, Charles and stuff. And then before that, I wrote 10 years of draft column for NBA.com. And I got to be friendly with some scouts and stuff. And there were 40 scouts at the Duke game. And I mean, some were there to see Cameron, obviously, but they also wanted to see Nate Amen. And I've talked to some of them. And also, with Nate being around, Jacoby Gillespie's getting some looks.
Like, for sure.
There's some NBA scouts come to the practices and they're saying, "Who's this cat?" But Nate is the guy. Second most impressive. Let's go there. Second most impressive freshman, Dwayne Brown.
That was my pick right there.
Surprising too.
Amen.
People thought that kid could even redshirt. He's not going to redshirt. He's going to play.
Too good.
He'll play 12 to 15 minutes and get 6 points and 4 or 5 boards and a couple of blocks.
I agree with your assessment.
Those will all be huge. Those will all be huge.
He turned some major heads during the Duke exhibition game.
No question.
And he's got 5 fouls to
himself on the map. Exactly. Yeah.
He's got, and you think about it now, Ruston, they've got 25 fouls to give in the post.
Yep.
And last year, if Felix was in foul trouble, they were dead.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not to Cade Phillips, but Cade's no 5-man. He'll tell you that.
Yeah.
He did the best he could, but you're trying to guard some of these bigs in the NCAAs. It's just tough. But now they've got guys, and he's not afraid to go down the bench to Dwayne Brown. Now Dwayne's probably. Dwayne comes in for carry. He's the first 4-man. He's the first post rotation practically, unless Phillips it goes in before him. But Phillips is really kind of a 3/4. Dwayne Brown knows where his office is. He's a 4/5, and he won't leave it. And he can score. He's clever.
Yep.
Ruston knows this as a former coach. It's not elementary to say a guy is a good layup maker. It's tough. Some
especially
people don't
in
realize
that conference.
You
got to be crazy physical.
You do, and this kid is like, bring it on. He wasn't afraid of Cameron Boozer, and Boozer's an animal. He's an animal.
Not since Grant Williams have we had, and Grant had to be careful because we didn't want him to use his 5. But it's been a long time since we've had an enforcer, and we can send Dwayne Brown down there and say, "Hey, you got 12 minutes to beat the other team to a pulp. Go have fun."
And Kerry, I mean, his dad played in the NFL, won a Super Bowl. So
Yeah.
he's big and brawny, and he committed to Tennessee over Zoom. He was that certain before he even visited that he wanted to come here and be coached up by Rick Barnes. And he's going to get yelled at. He knows that. He probably got yelled at by his father, toughened him up, and he's ready for it. He'll get better. He'll get better. It's like Ruston said. They're going to utilize him like they did Grant Williams. He's going to be able to shoot a 15-footer, and then when that gets contested, he's going to be able to put it on the floor and go to the rim. I guarantee you he'll be doing that within a month. And then he's a killer offensive rebounder. So they've just got so many more weapons, and that leads to Rick is unrelenting on defense, and now you can be unrelenting on defense, sub out, and got fresh legs for offense. So
I think we'll see. It also opens the door for new wrinkles on defense. I think we'll see some more half-court traps, some 1-3-1. I think they'll use that length to their advantage and show some new looks they haven't done.
I think they'll go 94 feet and put Nate Ament as your point. If they do like a 1-3-1 kind of zone trap, think about this guy as the head of the snake at 6'10" with a 7'1" wingspan. They can do scary stuff.
You don't want to be in that trap in that corner of the half court.
You don't. and like I said about Gillespie, 1.9 steals a game. He's dangerous too, and they've just got so much length. And it sounds like they're paying me. I know it does, but I just if they weren't this good, I'd tell you that. I swear.
I've been saying this for weeks. This team they are built for March. This team is scary.
I think so. I mean, honestly, I'd tell you if I didn't believe what I'm saying. I'm not just saying it because your show's called the Vol Bros. I believe this. I believe this. And I followed the game for longer than I care to admit. And I've picked up a few things here and there. And one of them is in the SEC, you got to have guys that can beat on people. They got that. You got to have depth. They got it. You got to have a great point guard. They got it. You got to have shooting. I think they've got it. They haven't shot nearly as well as they're gonna. They'll tell you that. To a man, they'll tell you that. They will shoot better than they've shot so far. I know they will.
Well, to your point there, that leads to our third question. We let Chris know we were going to ask him, obviously back-to-back Elite Eights. This team could potentially be even better. 100% it depends on who's in their region in the tournament. 100%. But like y'all said, they're built for March. The senior point guard leadership is vitally important in March. They have that.
Yeah.
Coaching, vitally important. Depth, vitally important. They got those things. All right. So, with that being said, realistically, how far could this team go in the tournament this year?
I mean, there's 12 to 14 teams that could win the national championship, and that's more than I can remember in a long time.
Yeah.
Tennessee is one of them, in my opinion. And I know Jay Billis agrees with me. He just came out with his 68 top teams in the country, and he had Tennessee at number 7. So if
That's
Jay
the same
Billis
spot you had him.
yeah, and he buys Blue Ribbon. I'd give it to him, but I'd give it to him, but he buys it because he's a great ambassador for it. But yeah, if Jay Billis thinks that, the guy played for Duke. He's an attorney, super smart, and he acts braggadocious. That's just a facade. He's not that way. Yeah. He's just super smart. I don't know if this is still on his Twitter. He said, "Opinions are mine, and they'll quickly be adopted by you." That's on his Twitter feed. But yeah, I mean, if he's got him at number 7, he thinks they're capable.
Yeah.
you know, and he's their lead announcer, and he's not there because he's a chump.
Right.
He knows the game. He studies it inside and out. So I think they could. It wouldn't surprise me if they could win it. Now, will they? Again, a lot depends on draws, but I don't think they're
Yeah.
as susceptible to draws, barring injury. As I said, FAU, Rick feared them because of Ziegler's injury, and it came to pass. Michigan, when they had Hunter Dickinson, that was a year when they just could not guard the post. So they don't have that problem now. I mean, Jalen Carey can block shots. Felix Akbar is scary. He got so much better, as a defender who can rotate out on a guard and then sprint back to the post and block a shot. JP Estrella is just a mammoth dude in there. Dwayne Brown's got fire hoses for arms. They can guard the paint, and that's crucial. So what's the weakness that they're going to face? What's the weakness they're going to face that they're going to fear? I can't see it, and I know we're in early November, but Rick's teams get better. They just do.
That's
and
right.
Even the teams that I'm telling you, people criticized him, but if not for two blown defensive plays in 18 and 19, they could have gone to the Final Four. 18, the year Loyola won it, missed a defensive assignment. Kid hits the winning jumper. 19, Carson Edwards shooting a three. Lamonte Turner fouls him. The shot went way short. He hits two free throws of the three, ties the game, going to overtime. Purdue lights it up. If he just lets him shoot it, they win. They go to the Elite Eight, and then it's anybody's ball game once you get there.
Right.
And then that year they lost to Loyola. They went to the Final Four. So I just don't buy it that Rick's not a March coach. Rick's an everyday coach who uses a card table instead of this fancy office because he wants his kids to get better. His goal, which he shares with me, and he said it so often that whenever I text him or whenever I write about it, I capitalize it. His goal is the last Monday night. And I don't think he's retiring until he gets there. And this is a bunch that could get him there. And I would not say this, I swear to you, if I didn't believe it was true. I'm not just blowing smoke because this is a Vol show.
Well, Jonathan said he's convinced.
People think I'm crazy. I know they do. The national punditry
I don't think you're crazy.
I'm nuts. The national punditry are missing out. Like some of them had them at 23.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Those are the same people that get a vote on the Heisman. They don't have a clue what they're looking at.
The same people who voted for Vandy to win the SEC championship of football.
I'll tell you what, guys. I'll be honest. I don't know a tenth of the football you guys do because I had to give myself over to basketball. I wanted it's my favorite sport, and I wanted to be able to be somebody that somebody whose opinion people could trust. And I had to devote myself to it. You can't be a jack of all trades. You can't be an armchair analyst. You got to mix it up. And I picked basketball, and it's been very, very good to me. I would not trade it. I've been lucky enough to 2 years ago got into the U.S. Basketball Writers Hall of Fame. That means more to me than if you'd have handed me $50 million. Because I didn't get into this for money, God knows. I didn't get into this for fame. I got into this to be respected for what I do. And that plaque that's on my wall proves to me that mission accomplished. And now I just want to take it as far as I can. Rick Barnes, when I got that award, he said, you know what? And this is how he is. He's such a great and positive dude. He said, you still have a long way to go. You still have not done what all you're supposed to do. And I said, Coach, I could tell you the same thing. And at 71, he has not lost any of the vigor that he had when he was mixing it up with Dean Smith as a punk at Clemson. Little Ricky Barnes from Hickory. He's a competitor. And Vol fans, they need to know he's the real deal, and they're lucky to have him. And I know most of them do. Some on Twitter kind of wonder, and that's their right. That's their right to have an opinion. I don't belittle them for that. But I'm telling you, this guy's a competitor. He recruits competitors because nobody would be crazy enough to go there if they didn't want to compete and try to get better, because you're going to get yelled at. You are going to run steps till you puke if that's what it takes. So, he's got a thing going on. People call him now from the portal. It's not the other way around. I mean, obviously, they put the hard sell on Nate Ament. There's a great story that's in Blue Ribbon about how Rick closed the deal. Evan, you'll appreciate this. They're getting ready to leave, right? Final in-home visit. Rick reaches into his pocket and pulls out a mustard seed cross. You know what that symbolizes, right? With even as small as a mustard seed,
Absolutely.
faith can move mountains. And he handed it to Nate Ament. And at that very moment, Nate, who is also deeply religious, said, "I will follow this man anywhere."
That's awesome.
That's the kind of guy Rick Barnes is. He lives it, he breathes it, and he imparts it on his kids. And they know it's going to be tough love. But I've heard him say, I mean, guys that have been, he doesn't curse, but guys that have been belittled by him tell them that they love him.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he does stuff in the community that he doesn't want people to know, and nobody will ever know. But that's the kind of guy he is. That's the kind of coach Tennessee fans have. And I can't say enough about him. And it's not by any bias, I swear to you. It's just what I've observed, because I know coaches all around and I've had people tell me that nobody as a head coach wants any more than Rick Barnes for all of his players to be successful.
Absolutely.
From Nate Ament down to the last walk-on. And I think that's pretty cool. I mean, that's what he's in it for. He's making $6 million a year, but I swear, if it was $6 a year, he'd still be here. He'd still be here. And that's just how much he loves it.
Chris, there was a really good question in the comments that I wanted to ask you.
Sure.
From your perspective, what is Tennessee's biggest competition in the SEC?
I think Florida, they didn't necessarily look at against Arizona. They, too, are trying to fit in puzzle pieces. They got two good guards out of the portal, Xavier Lee from Princeton, Boogie Flan from Arkansas.
Yeah.
It's going to take them a little while to understand what they need to do and how to play with that great set of bigs that Florida has. I think Florida will be one for sure. I think I love talking to Nate Oates every summer. He's hilarious. And he'll call no matter what. Like one year, he called while he was giving his daughter a driving lesson on the interstate. And I'm like, Coach, you can call me tonight. It's okay. Maybe you should focus on that. This past summer, he says, Coach, he says, Chris, I'm sorry, I got to go. The girls are at home and they saw a scorpion, and I got to go meet they got to go meet the pest guy. And I'm like, Coach, that's your family, man. Go. But he told me he thinks he's got the best shooting team he's ever had. And they've led the nation in scoring the last 2 years. So they're going to be heard from. They are being vastly underrated by the national punditry. I think Kentucky will be there. I think Mark Pope is one of the best coaches in the country. It was
Yep.
so funny. Before I exited Twitter, I never engaged with anybody, but this guy I had to engage with was a Kentucky fan, and Pope was signing all these mid-major guys, and well, he says, I guess we'll never sign any more 5-stars. And I wrote him back and I said, dude, why don't you sit back and give this guy a chance? Because he's been successful everywhere he's been. He's worked for Rick Pitino and other good coaches, Mark Fox. Let him put together the team he thinks he can win. And I'm telling you, if Lamont Butler and Jackson Robinson don't get hurt last year, they might have gone to the Final Four. And their big kid, he had back injury, back issues all season long. So it happened that quick. And they have another team like that. And Otega Owe, I just wrote a piece about him. It's appearing Sunday on Hoops HQ. Can't wait for it to come out because it talks about how he grew up playing with two brothers who played football. One of them who is in the NFL now. And the games in their driveway were like measured on the Richter scale. And that's what made Owe tough. So he's back and he's Kentucky's ringleader. You know, he'll, by the sheer force of his will, that guy is going to help Kentucky. So those are the three teams I think that will be reckoned with the most. I think Vandy is going to be a lot better than people think because they can really shoot it. They made 17 threes, albeit against inferior competition the other night, but I don't care who you are. 17 threes is a ton.
Amen.
And they've got guys that can put it in the hole. They got two key players back from last year, Tyler Nickel and the McLaughlin kid. So that's more than a lot of teams in this league got back.
And a coaching
Tennessee
staff that knows how to win.
Yeah, exactly. So I think this is a league that will once again get double-figure teams in the NCAA. I cannot sit here and tell you now that it'll be 14 again, but I do think it'll be 10 to 12 for sure. And I think Oklahoma's better than people think. I really do. They had a great year in the portal. It was ranked number 11 by 247 Sports. They signed a couple of good guards, really good guards, one from St. Joseph's, one from Miami, Nigel Pack. And I think they're going to be really good too. So top to bottom, this league is just I don't remember exactly when it was, but it was Mike Sly was the commissioner, and they just decided, by God, we need to be good in basketball. So they started using RPI and later the net as their North Star for scheduling. Then they said, we need a full-time associate commissioner for basketball. It seems like that would have been elementary. They'd have done it years before, but they did it finally. And then when they got the SEC network, I remember ACC coaches were really moaning about that because it's going to be a competitive advantage. And the SEC's rise and the ACC's fall is synonymous with the SEC network literally printing money. They are killing it. And I'll never forget the press conference in Atlanta when they introduced the SEC network. They had the coaches there, and Kevin Stallings was at Vanderbilt at the time, and he told the story. He was in a guy's home, and he didn't give names, but he said, Little Johnny's dad asked me, how many games of Little Johnny's can I see on TV? And Kevin kind of stopped, and he said, every. So, that's like gold. Every game. The SEC decided it wanted to be good at basketball. They hire Bruce Pearl. They hire Rick Barnes. They hire a bunch of coaches who know how to win, and they pay them accordingly. There's an arms race where teams either have new arenas or they're being refurbished. And they're all getting practice facilities. Ole Miss's new arena is a gem. It's a perfect size for them. when Kermit was there, I went down to visit him. His office, he can literally open a door and be in his practice facility. And so that's all around the league. And all of this is starting to come to fruition. And they're starting to do a lot better job recruiting in the portal. Some schools were a little behind others in terms of what the NIL meant and what they had to do to get there. But I think they've caught up in a hurry. Tennessee was an early adopter and was able to get a guy like Dalton Connect. Really, Dalton didn't care about the money. Dalton wanted to be coached up by Rick Barnes, and he wanted to go to the NBA. And Rick told me that summer, he said, if he's not in the NBA, I will not have done my job, and I will not sleep at night. And he was the 17th pick in the draft, and I think a lot of teams missed on him. I wish they would have had him. But, it's just the SEC is a powerhouse, and for the foreseeable future, just like in baseball, just like in football, just like in everything, I think it's going to stay that way.
Well, we had one more question come in that I think is a great question that I'd love to ask you here. So, Bobby, welcome, Bobby. Glad you're with us. Bobby's a Tennessee fan from Kentucky, actually. And, he's talking about we do have so many new faces on this roster this year.
Right.
So many. We're glad to have them. We're glad to have such depth now. But he said, how realistically for Tennessee fans, how long do you think it will take for this team to really start clicking and gelling together?
That's hard to say. I will say this. They do such a great job with film. I mean, they have an excellent video coordinator. And Rick and the NCAA, in its infinite wisdom, finally allowed iPads on benches so they can show you in real time how you're screwing up and fix it. But they go through film like nobody's business, and they do analytics. And if you look, the team that misfired when they should have taken out Duke was a much better team, albeit against an inferior opponent, was a much better team against Mercer. And the team that you're going to see on Saturday against Northern Kentucky will be better still. So Rick utilizes every advantage that he has. And they've got this, their film room is like a theater that you'd want to go see The Godfather parts 1, 2, and 3 in. I mean, it's expansive. It's got a great sound system, comfortable seating, and they learn there. Rick tells them, and if you're a visual learner, and most people are, you just got to say, look, this is what's happening, and this is what we got to fix. And they do that. They do that game to game. And there's not a game that goes by where Rick Barnes says, we can get better. I don't care if it's in November or March. He says, we've still got a ceiling that we have yet to get to. And that's just the way he coaches and the way he looks at the game. And he's just relentless. Like Chris Ogden said, he's maniacal and in a good way. He's a benevolent dictator on that team.
Well, this has been a treat for us, for everybody in the comments. We've had so many comments come through. We appreciate all of you so much for chiming in the comments. I'm going to put in the comments myself right now a link to blueribbonyearbook.com so that everybody can easily, find that the website so you can get your copy of the Blue Ribbon Yearbook. Elijah said this has been awesome. I totally agree. For those watching on Twitter right now, I will put it in the comments. I'm going to put it in the comments there too. Let me get there real quick. All right. So if you're watching on Twitter, it is now in the comments for you as well. BlueRibbonYearbook.com. Mina Laggy said, yes, thank you, Chris. Hoops HQ, absolutely. Rhonda said, awesome night tonight. Thank you, Chris and the bros.
I'm happy. I just clicked on the comments. I won't say his name, but he said, I'm not tearing up, it's allergies. I love Barnes.
Yeah.
That's great.
Elijah said, love hearing Chris's insight. and confirming the thoughts I've had for months. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, I just got it going on, man. He knows. I'm telling you. I'm just calling it like I see it. If I thought they were going to suck, I'd tell you. I would. And I just don't. I don't believe that my compadres in the national punditry understand what they've got. They're looking at an outdated metric, Ruston, and you will appreciate this, and that is returning minutes. That's an outdated metric.
Especially in the
an
transfer
era where
portal
you
era.
can back a Brinks truck to somebody's front porch and buy a dude.
Bingo.
And it's just a matter, and again, not to belabor this point or what I said to Rick, 2 words: puzzle pieces. And it's just finding that fit, and he will. I mean, it's not like last year when he had no options. You know, who's he going to turn to last year if Zakai Ziegler got in foul trouble? Nobody. Felix Akpara got in foul trouble. Nobody.
Right.
Chaz Lanier was having an off night. Nobody. Now they got options, and you haven't seen the best of them yet. I think.
Oh yeah.
I get the impression that as good as he is and as confident as he is, Gillespie is pressed a little bit, maybe, but he doesn't need to press. He's a natural talent, a stud, an athlete, and great instincts for the game. So he'll be great. Nate Ament, he'll get better and better and better. That 18 and 10, that'll be the norm for him, I think. And he'll get more assists too, because and they'll post him more. He can post up. He's just a killer. I mean, there's no spot on the floor that he can't hurt you. And they just didn't have a guy like that. Chaz Lanier could get to the rim, but that wasn't his way. I mean, he had a 7-foot wingspan and mad hops. Well, it was 6'10", whatever, not 7 foot, but big enough to do some damage at the rim. And, you know, he just, that's not the way he was coached. Rick tried to get him to go to the rack more, but they've got people that want to do that, that are inclined to do that. Now they've got people that can clean up misses. Before it was like they had no way to get easy baskets when the jump shots weren't falling. And now they do. And that makes all the difference if they're still as good defensively as they usually are. And trust me, Rick will not rest until they are. So
Jalen Carey is that guy that at the end of the night, you look at the box score and he's got 14 and 9, and you're going, wait, when did that happen?
Yeah. He just quietly eats people up. I mean, he kicked Tennessee. Rick's quote was, he kicked our butts twice last year. He did. He had like 18 and 10 in Knoxville, you know, so he liked the atmosphere there, even as he was on the other team. And that's part of the reason he wanted to come here. And he's starting. I wasn't sure he would start, but I think that's to build his confidence. And I think it'll grow and grow, and he'll be better and better. And so will everybody.
Don't you think that's also Rick trying to set a tone? Like he's sending the muscle out first.
Yeah, I mean, he told me when I said, he called me I don't know, March, and said, "What do you think of this kid?" And I said, well, I like him. You know, he's pretty hard on you guys. And he said, "Well, but I said, you've signed a bunch of guys already. You know, why would you take him?" And he said, "I've always loved guys with girth, you know, and this kid is 265, you know, son of an NFL Super Bowl winner, and just a mean desperado. I mean, he's going to pound you." And they've got Felix. I mean, Felix is actually the vocal leader on this team. I mean, he's getting in people's faces and stuff. And you know, he got in foul trouble the other night, but he wants to be out there and he wants to be throwing stuff back. And you notice he's made a 3 in the first 2 games. Rick told me he was going to let him shoot threes, and and they are. So they've just got more to play with than I think Rick's ever had, but especially last year. And he got to the Elite Eight last year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you just extrapolate a little bit, you got to believe that they're going to be better. I mean, I just think that's so. And furthermore, I don't think anybody in the SEC ran off and hid from them and got like a ton better than they were last year. Like,
Yep.
is Florida a ton better than they were last year? I don't see how they can be without Walter Clayton. You know, he just willed them to win.
Yes.
Yeah, nobody ran off and hid from them.
And I think the Plains are in for a rude awakening with that coaching change.
Yeah, I mean, that first game, Al McGuire used to call it a white knuckler, you know, against Bethune-Cookman. You're not supposed to go into overtime at home to beat Bethune-Cookman. There's only one Bruce Pearl.
Yeah, and I know too much about Steven. So.
Yeah. I was going to say, as do I, and I don't know. I hope that works out, but clearly the timing was like Dean Smith did for Bill Guthridge.
Yeah.
He quit in October, and they had no choice but to put Bill in charge. And we'll see what Steven does. But overnight, they go from having the top 2 or 3 coaches in the league to the worst. And that's no knock on Steven. He's the least experienced coach in the SEC. So we'll see. You know, we'll see what he can do.
At the end of the year, we'll still be saying he's the worst. But that's just me.
Very well could. I mean, you know, Dad left him with a team, and we'll see what he can do with it. But I like that team a lot better if BP's still at the helm. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Maybe if they get to play Bethune-Cookman in the NCAA tournament, maybe they won't go into overtime then. We'll see. Well, people have loved having you on here. So have we. Matt said, best show I've seen all week. And then he said, nope, longer than a week. Several people have said they hope you come back. We hope you come back too. This has certainly been a treat for us as well. Now, you mentioned that you also have a podcast. Can you tell everybody how to find that show?
Yeah, it's on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast, as they say. So we just dropped one today.
What's the name of that show?
It's super original. Blue Ribbon College Basketball Podcast.
There you go.
We didn't labor over that one. We didn't have to hire
for the brand, baby.
We didn't have to hire a Madison Avenue marketing firm on that one.
That's awesome. So blueribbonyearbook.com. That's where you too can have your very own Blue Ribbon Basketball College Yearbook and Blue Ribbon Basketball College Yearbook podcast.
Yeah, Blue Ribbon Yearbook podcast, or Blue Ribbon, what is it now? Blue Ribbon College Basketball podcast.
There you go.
But you can get it on Apple, Spotify, all those, and it's a fun time. We said today we're reverently irreverent. We love the game, and we love everybody around it, but we don't think we're rocket scientists, and so we have a bunch of fun. And Kevin, he thought of this new he calls it our fastest growing segment, but at the end of every show we have what are you listening to? So he likes hair metal and I like the Beatles. So
there you go. I'd have to lean towards your taste with that one myself personally.
We usually have some back and forth on that. We know it's not rocket science. You know, we're just trying to have fun. We're not hot take artists. We don't think we know everything. If we never had to be, Kevin doesn't have a mean bone in his body, and I don't think I do either. And we just have a lot of fun.
Well, that's awesome. I hope everybody checks it out. Mina Laggy said she agrees with you on the Beatles. Absolutely. It's hard to argue with that.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer there. I said I'd love to be 100 years old as long as I still know who the Beatles are.
Well, we really do appreciate you, Chris, so much.
Guys,
you are welcome
you're
back.
old friends, and I'm always happy to do it.
Well, you are welcome back on this show. You have a standing invitation. And so,
Well, let's do it again.
Absolutely. Well, we hope everybody has a fantastic weekend ahead of you. It's a bye week for Tennessee football.
Going to be a win.
Yeah, we're not losing this weekend.
And your basketball team is at home.
That's right.
Perfect opportunity to get down and see a team that could make the last Monday night.
Absolutely. Lady Vols play Friday. Basketballs play Saturday. So it'll be a basketball weekend in Knoxville. We sure do appreciate everybody joining us. We hope you join us again Sunday night at 9:00 Eastern. We loved having Chris with us tonight. Like he said, we're old friends, and it was great to have him with us. And it's cool to sit here and talk with somebody who's like, well, Rick Barnes called me and asked me what I thought about this kid. That's pretty cool. If you got that kind of respect.
It sounds almost like name droppy, but you just build up a level of trust with the people that you work with.
Absolutely.
If it's not Rick, it's Steve Forbes or any number of guys that I met when they were assistants or graduate assistants. And I learned as a reporter, you befriend everybody.
Yep.
And
absolutely.
That article I wrote about Tyler Lundblade, the graduate assistant, helped me out as much as anybody and sent me the film. So it's just, befriending people and getting them to build up that trust and that they know you're crazy enough to edit a 900,000 word book. So you must love this game. And so
absolutely.
It's kind of like that.
Well, Matt said, thanks, Evan. Thanks, Ruston. Thanks, Mr. Dortch. Go Vols, baby. Absolutely. He's exactly right.
Matt.
We hope everybody has a great weekend. Just like Matt said, go Vols, baby. And we will see all of you very, very soon.